Hey everyone, James Niggemeyer here. Thank you for tuning back into the YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about the differences between balsa and plastic when it comes to squarebill crankbaits. Most of the time in this conversation, as soon as you talk about balsa and plastic or traditionally made, production line made baits, generally it's a one is better than the other. It's a versus type conversation, but I'm actually going to say that there's differences in the baits, and some of them play well in certain situations and some of them in others. So I'm going to go over just the differences in the two types of baits. So right here I have two almost identically sized squarebill crankbaits, almost identical in color, just a slight difference in the Bill Lewis ATV, which is this one. And this is a discontinued balsa crankbait that has kind of legendary status. But at any rate, the differences are pretty unique. Even though these baits look the same and are probably made to do the same thing, there are a lot of differences. Number one, we'll start with the bill. On the balsa, you have a larger bill. And even though the Bill Lewis ATV is a tremendous bait for going through cover, probably one of the better ones that I've ever, if not the best that I've ever used for coming through wood. As you can see, the balsa one has a bigger lip, so that's going to actually act like a guard as it goes through cover and careens and hits cover. So that's number one. Number two, also super obvious, is the kind of the roundness. You can see this one's kind of got a little bit of a flatter side. And of course you could say that that's going to vary from crankbait manufacturer to crankbait manufacturer, but these balsa ones are particularly more rounded in shape. Your plastic ones typically have a more of an aerodynamic shape. When it comes to action, your plastic ones definitely have sharper X. And what I mean by an X is as it's moving through the water, it's cutting, harder right and left. Seems like with balsa ones, it's more of a rounded, kind of rolling, as opposed to a harder X that you'll have with plastic. This is just general rules. Some baits are going to be different than others. The other one is sound. There is a slight little one knocker bearing in there in the plastic one, and in the balsa there's nothing. It's just completely silent. And sometimes I feel like silent can be really good, and sometimes the one with a rattle can be really good. So there's just differences in the way that they're manufactured. Weight. These might actually be similar in weight. I don't know, I haven't actually weighed them, but even though they're similar in weight, these plastic ones are going to throw, in my opinion, throw further and more direct. You're going to be able to hit your target a whole lot easier with a plastic one. And I think it has something to do with the way that they're weighted, and where the balsa, because of the fact that they are weighted, but because of the shape, the way that it catches air, the lip, the body shape, those types of things, and also because balsa is just lighter, these are going to throw better in wind, and they're going to be more forgiving. They're definitely going to be more durable. Your plastic baits are always going to be more durable. You hit something like a dock or a rock and you could bust a lip or knock some paint off. That's just kind of an obvious thing, an obvious difference between the two. Probably the thing that makes a balsa bait something that people really like is the fact that they're inconsistent. And you might think, well, why would anybody want an inconsistent bait? Because the inconsistency, it can change the action of the bait. And you can really get what someone would call a unicorn. And that is something where the bait runs and acts and hunts more irregular and more lifelike, because it's not so much like a machined action or a consistent, true action. These are more inconsistent because of, wood, obviously, how much water was in it, how it was made, is there a knot in it, how the wood grew. Just there's definitely different things that go into balsa that just create a different action or consistency in the baits. And the inconsistency is probably the thing that people gravitate most when it comes to balsa. When it comes to diving depth, your plastic ones are definitely going to get a better diving depth because, again, these don't have the buoyancy. The plastic ones don't have the buoyancy that the balsa has, so it's not going to hold it up in the water column higher. Now, this one might not run as deep as some of the other ones or vice versa, but as a general rule, your plastic ones on a long cast are going to get to dive deeper than your balsa ones. Your balsas are definitely going to stay higher in the water column. When you hit or connect with a piece of cover or structure, it's going to want to float up if you give it slack a lot more than your plastic ones. Even if a plastic one is, say, built to do that, I feel like overall your balsas come through and float up over cover because of the buoyancy a little bit more than your plastics as a general rule. So those are some of the differences in balsa and plastic. People will say one's better than the other. I feel like they're definitely different tools, and in certain instances, one might get more bites than another, but there's personality, characteristic, or traits in one, in the other that differ and vary, and both can be good at certain times. I know that if I'm throwing bait around rock or hardcover or hitting around docks, I'm definitely going to reach for a plastic one. Maybe if I'm fishing a lot of wood, I would probably go with a balsa, like laydowns and stumps. But I know that my Bill Lewis ATV handles those types of cover probably as good or better than anything I've ever fished in those types of scenarios. Just coming through cover, which is why they call it the ATV. It just does a really good job of it. But traditionally, the balsas were known for their ability to go in and over and through cover in a greater degree than the plastic ones were. But now that we can design different baits and engineer them to do the same thing, I definitely think, I don't know which one would be better, but I would say that the ATV handles it about as good as anything, even maybe as good as balsa. But there's definitely different characteristics. It's something that you really just need to play with. And on any given day, if you know you're on a good squarebill bite, you might want to have both tied on. So just some thoughts to take into consideration when you're choosing a squarebill crankbait, whether balsa or plastic. The subtle or slight differences between the two can make a difference in the number of bites you get on a given day, and that might swing one way or the other. It might be plastic on a given day, and then on another day it might be balsa. If you nerd out about squarebill crankbait fishing and have been around through the trends, you kind of know what I'm talking about. But those are some funny things to consider and think about when you talk about balsa versus plastic. It's definitely a conversation that could splinter off and go a bunch of different ways, but I'm going to try to keep this one short. I certainly appreciate all of you tuning into the YouTube channel, watching the videos. If you got anything out of it, please give me a thumbs up and drop a comment down below. Be sure to go over to my description section where I have links to my social media, my website, as well as my merch, Team Niggemeyer Fishing, and there's a discount code for Amphibia Eye Gear. Until next time, thanks for watching and good fishing.